Greetings one, greetings all. Thank you for joining me. Today I am going to talk to you about love spells and why they don't work sometimes. This can be really frustrating because if you've just started witchcraft and you've watched us do some videos on YouTube, or perhaps you've just cracked open your first witchcraft book and you've followed what the author has said to a T, and still you're not having success and you're thinking, damn, I'm really shitty at witchcraft. I want to share with you a couple of reasons why you may not have had success. And then perhaps you're a person that realizes that witchcraft can't be actually studied within a day, and you've come to a spellcaster such as myself or someone else, and still you haven't had success with a love spell. And so I'll share with you a few reasons why. It's not an exhaustive list of reasons why. It's going to give you enough information that you can actually take one thing that I've said and perhaps go off and research it a little bit more and then find out what you can do to improve that, or go back to your spellcaster with some new information and actually perhaps if the spellcaster is working with you long term, perhaps they can add or correct the spell that they've done based on the new information you're giving them, or perhaps you'll just have to order another love spell from that spellcaster. So let's go through some of the reasons that I've found, especially over the past few years working with clients and doing love work. So first off the bat, spells aren't going to work if you order the wrong love spell or do the wrong love spell. For example, if we're just really making this super simple for you guys, all love isn't equal. So perhaps you really like somebody and you don't want that person in your life forever. You perhaps want just an encounter with that person. Then doing a long-term love binding spell isn't going to give you the result that you want. Short-term relationships require spells such as obsession spells or lust spells, something in that ilk. If you're doing love binding spells on a person that could be, you don't want them in your relationship, in your life forever, and B, they could already be aligned with somebody else, the probability of your spell having success is slim to none, because spiritually and energetically you're not really aligned to that person. You're meant to be with someone else, or that person's meant to be with someone else, and it's just not going to work out. So do the right spell for attracting short-term love, such as an obsession spell, such as a lust spell, or something like that. So talk to your spellcaster about that first, or look up the right type of spell to do for that situation. If you've ordered or you're doing a love spell on your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, and they're now with somebody else, and you've done a love spell and it hasn't worked out for you, it's probably because that you need to do a spell first that separates your ex or your partner from this other person first. Until you do that separation spell, it's going to be very hard for the properties or energies of a love spell connecting you to another person to be able to manifest easily. The analogy that I like to give to my clients when I'm explaining this is that of electricity. So when you turn electricity on at the power point, the current flows straight from, the power point to wherever that energy is supposed to connect with at the other end, whether it's a refrigerator or a microwave or TV, whatever it is. Now, if you go and cut a wire, or there's lots of other blockages, such as there's water dripping down your walls and some of the circuitry can't flow properly, well, it's going to be a real challenge for you to turn on that light at the light switch and for the electricity or the energy to be able to turn on your TV set when you want to. So there's a break in the energy. So to do a great love spell, firstly, you must fix the problem. And then when you go to do the love part of the love spell, to have that person love you, then the probability of that love spell actually having success is much more higher. So I hope that makes sense. Using that analogy still, this is why sometimes love spells when you're much younger and you don't have so much, I'll say baggage, but not all baggage is bad, right? Sometimes baggage is beautiful, like Louis Vuitton baggage, right? That's not bad baggage. But if you've got Kmart baggage, that could be bad baggage because it's shitty baggage, right? So not all baggage is the same. But as you get older, you collect more baggage. Is that fair to say than when you're younger? You know, you haven't had the opportunity to screw up your life as much as when you are much older. So by the time we get into our 40s or 50s, we might have had multiple marriages, we might have had multiple children, we might have had multiple jobs, multiple heartbreaks, multiple. When you're younger, you haven't had an opportunity yet, and hopefully you won't, to create all of this designer baggage. So when you're doing magical spells and you're a little bit older, there's a couple of different things you've got to remember. That you've got to perhaps do a few foundational spells first to clear out the baggage that you don't like, to clear out the Kmart baggage, right? And then what you can do is do that stronger love spell. When you're younger, of course, you haven't created all that drama yet. So when you do stronger spells, the probability of them manifesting is much higher. But I'd say the warning on that personally is, because you know I love giving warnings, the warning is that you got to be careful of what you bind to yourself long term. So I really, unless you're marrying someone, if you're young, I wouldn't be doing love binding spells. And take this from an older witch who has had lots of mistakes in this area. You know, when you're learning different potions and formulas and spells, you know, the nearest target can be the recipient of something that they shouldn't be receiving, and it can create lots of long-term problems. And especially when you're using ingredients such as blood and some of the stronger deities or stronger demons or energies, you're going to bind yourself with a situation or a person that you really don't want to be bound with for the rest of your life. What else? When love spells don't work properly, sometimes the target of the spell is under the influence of something else, be it magical spells, be it witchcraft, but also be it drugs or alcohol. Be it a stage in their life where psychologically they're not the person they typically are, you know, before they got into XYZ situation. So if you're really in love with this person, you're going to wait for them to go through this period of their life or be more of a friend to them, because, hey, what's a rush? It's it's not a sprint. Life and love together is a marathon, right? So support that person as a friend, and then once they're over, their situation where they can't think straight, then maybe do some love work or love spells to keep you together. But allow a person a chance to grow organically before you, if you really care for them, before you're layering them up with all this love work. Because then do you really think that that person is in love with you, or do you feel like they're just tied to you? And that could even affect the way that you treat the relationship in the future as well. So when do love spells work the best? Well, if it's legally bound, or if it's sexually bound, if you're already in contact with that person, the spells will have a much greater success of manifesting the way you want them. And that's not to say it's going to be instant. Love spells require lots of layering. So it's not just, if you've got just one love spell, or you've just done one love spell and you think that should be strong enough, it's not. Even when you have the result that you want, you need to continuously do love work on the person to keep your relationship protected, to keep other influences away from it, to keep perhaps a partner from straying, because one spell that you cast 20 years ago isn't going to cut it. So let's now look at a couple of type of people that are typically resistant to love type work. Well, firstly, it's us black witches, or us on the left-hand path. If we've been doing this for a while, it's fair to say that our protection should be razor sharp or impenetrable. So if you're trying to do a love spell or some sort of manipulation spell on a witch, we have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different levels of protection and agreements with other spiritual forces that protects us from doing love work. And in many cases, if you're doing work on a witch, such as myself, the repercussions to you could be quite severe. And that's enough said on that. So, but if you're trying to do work and you're a witch and you're trying to do work on another witch and it's not working, well, you should really know why it's not working, okay? But for the rest of you, don't even bother doing love spells on witches or wasting money doing love spells or getting others to do love spells on witches, because it shouldn't work. And if it does work, well, that person wasn't a real witch anyways. So, okay, the other condition is if somebody is gay or lesbian, or if you're gay or lesbian and you're trying to create that type of relationship for yourself. It's situational at best. I'd hate to say in all cases that's not true, because I have created a couple of scenarios where a straight guy has become gay, but it's more temporary, and also it's not really cool. Sure, I'm a black witch. However, your sexuality is something that just needs to be accepted, and I don't care if you're what you like to sleep with. That is your personal business. But for someone to manipulate someone's sexuality and take away, their pleasure in life, or try and confuse them, because it's a very confusing situation, and it's typically younger people that want spellcasters to change the sexuality of someone else. To me, it's just mean. There's lots of other fish in the sea, and I know some people are super good looking and you want them temporarily, and if you wanted to do work around that, that's a better option than trying to do long-term love work where you're trying to break up someone who's gay or straight and turn them to the opposite side and then break them up. I mean, it's long-term work again, but to me it's mean and cruel and really has such a low success rate that you've got to think, well, why bother? But if you got more money than sense, well, then go for it. If someone isn't totally attracted to you, so if you this happens a lot too. Say, for example, I'll just throw it out there that you're of Indian heritage, right? Indian as in India heritage, and you like someone who is Russian. Okay, and the Russian person typically wouldn't go for you, and you've got all these hang-ups about your caste system, and the Russian person has all their hang-ups about whatever it means to be of someone from India and of a certain color, whatever it is, but you really want that person. It's a real challenge because you're working through more than just the desire for love. You're actually asking for a lot of manipulation there. So remember that analogy I gave about the electricity, turning on at the power point and getting straight to the appliance? This is another case where there is just so many breaks in that situation or scenario that it's near impossible to have success. Okay, it's just the way it is. I've spoken about this in a ton of videos, but personality type is key. Of course, I'm going to say that I'm a clinical psychologist. However, if you've got someone and they're we are actually born with our personality type, and our personality type does not change. So if you're a sociopath, you're born as a sociopath. And if you're an introvert, well, you can be an extrovert in certain situations that you've trained yourself to be extroverted in, but you will feel most comfortable going back to being introverted. Your whole life will be a path of providing for you an occupation or a partner or social situations that really help you feel comfortable in your personality type. And there's no good or bad, or I take that back, a sociopath's a fucking asshole, but at the end of the day, you can't change your personality type. So with spell work, or as spellcasters, we always get people that are falling in love with narcissists, because a narcissist can make you feel so damn good. They know exactly what to say to hook you in and make you feel so special. But at the end of the day, once they have you, you're just now a puppet for them. And they don't even realize that you're a puppet, because they're a true narcissist, and it's just part and parcel of them. And they will never truly believe that they're in the wrong, and you will always be kissing ass to prove yourself to that person. So when it comes to love spells with that type of person, it's very hard for them to be reflective and actually take action, the action that the spell is asking them to take, because of their narcissistic personality traits. Okay, so once again, it's a situation that we can go in and do psychic manipulation on that type of person and implant thoughts in their head. But these thoughts are band-aids at best. So if you have more money than sense, again, we can go in there and do it. The results are going to be very iffy, but maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need one last hurrah and that's it. But once again, I personally don't guarantee that type of work when it comes to that type of personality, especially. Another type of class that, or condition that these spells won't work really, if somebody is protected by either witchcraft, by blood, or by actively working on their relationship. So what I mean by this is, if it's just a normal couple and they're not in witchcraft, or you're not practicing witchcraft, and you're wondering, why is their relationship so tight? Well, maybe they're actively doing nice things for each other. They're trying to improve themselves. They're always in a state of growth. I always say you're either growing or dying. You should never be static in your relationship, otherwise you're in a state of decline. But if you're always looking for ways to improve your relationship, different activities to do together, going to see a relationship coach, taking little courses, reading books, spending time, closing windows and shutting doors. What that means is that you're protecting the relationship from the influences of the outside world. It's going to be extremely hard as a spellcaster to get in there and break that strong bond that they're creating there. They're creating a beautiful love vortex, right? And so no matter what we're throwing at them, their love is just a strong little vortex. So, yeah, I mean, once again, it's a long-term process, whereas a black spellcaster, you can break down the energy. It takes time. The spellcaster has to know how to affect someone's aura, how to break them down energetically, and then comes the spells to actually do separation or whatever you want to do. But it is a process. It's not a one spell and done. So you can either learn to do this for yourself or pay your spellcaster whatever they're asking you to pay. Not too much, but you know, you're paying for their time essentially. Well, that's what I do. So I don't care what others do. So you could be thinking, well, what the hell does a black witch or an occultist or someone on the left-hand path actually do? Well, what we can do is we create these links that normally can't be created. We're master manipulators, but that doesn't mean that the manipulation will last long-term. It doesn't mean that it'll last forever. Love work is always a layered approach. It requires long-term various spells to actually have success. So that's why a lot of women who are doing folk magic, they're doing small things frequently to ensure that magic and the magical bind is really protecting their relationship with their spouse. And you should be thinking about love spells and love work like that as well. The only reason I'm doing all these videos is to really share with you out there that you guys that want to learn about witchcraft, what extra study or how much practice that you actually have to put into this, because it's not a one spell and it's done deal. It's as easy as it is complex. And what I mean by that is it depends on how deep you want to go as a witch or as a gypsy or a spellcaster, because you really do need to understand what creates a magical link, how to actually bind someone, and what that effect has long term on you and on the relationship. Okay? You have to understand that just because you cast a spell on someone, or I cast a spell on someone, that doesn't guarantee all those things that you dislike about that person before will now change, and they'll be that perfect little individual that you want. That will not ever be the effect of absolutely any love spell. I'll challenge anyone to that statement in itself, because we all have free will, and unless you're going to do consistent ongoing work on somebody's free will or someone's personality will always rise to the surface above any witchcraft. Okay, and this is the beautiful thing about being in our bodies and being in this state that we're in here and now. We do have a lot of power and control over what can be thrown at us. Okay, so I hope that explains to you what are some of the challenges that are affecting your love work or love work that you're doing with some other spellcaster or witch. And I'll try and do a couple of more videos around this topic in coming weeks. But thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.